Hay Nakamura.
All right, we're live. Good morning. Good morning. How are we doing out there? We've got a good little show for you guys today. We got a couple of different guests. We've got John and Todd joining us from Sherwood this morning, and we also have Jack Dowd joining us from Dowd Insurance. So tee up your home inspection and your insurance questions for today. But anybody got anything just to get us started? Anybody got some good news, some good vibes, something going good in their world before we dive into real estate? You guys are leading those that much of an exciting life out there. I am just excited to get these guests going. I don't have to drive the conversation. I am really loving, and I want you guys to give me feedback on who you want us to get on the show. Who do you want to talk to? Who do you want to be able to ask questions to? Because I think that the shows that we are able to bring these specialists on, it's really been exceptional and just drives a better conversation. So, John and Todd, you guys have had the floor before, and I know you got a couple of topics, but Jack's joining us for the first time. So, Jack, I'd like you to jump on and just talk to us. I know you had a couple of things just in general for real estate agents to kind of be aware of that you're kind of seeing in the industry. So, take the floor, man.
Sure. Well, off the bat, apologize. When I heard the music playing, I thought I had a window open my computer and it was playing throughout your entire Salesforce. So appreciate you bearing with me there. But anyway, great to see everybody. I know it's good to put a face to a name. We've worked with you for many years now, and we appreciate the business you send over, and we hope we do a good job for your clients. So. I just want to touch on a few things overall that I think would be beneficial for you to know in the real estate game on the residential side. And afterwards, I'll open the floor up to any questions, either on what I said or anything about the industry that you've noticed or want to know more about. So, um, first thing is we have actually a new person involved with our new business team now, a new business coordinator. So this is a person that is essentially going to be the front person for our relationship. So you're going to call Becky Adorno now, as opposed to Rachel or Adam. So I'll send you, Steve, the information for her, and then you can forward that along to your team. But this is essentially just a person that's on the front end fielding phone calls, and then based on our individual alpha split, assigning them accordingly. So you don't have to worry about any of that. They will, she will take care of that end for you, and you don't have to think about who do I send this to based on the state or based on the name. It's just one person, and everything goes through them. And Steve, this could be something perhaps we could talk about. It's up to you, but one of the thoughts I had was perhaps having an introductory email from your rep to Becky, basically saying, hi, I'd like to introduce you to X. They said they were interested in a home quote through you. That way we iron out the whole referral arrangement up front. But just something to
Yeah, I mean,
consider.
one thing to keep in mind for this call, Jack, is we've got more than just our team on the call. So you've got agents from all different types of brokerages that are able to join live. So we'll keep it just general insurance, and if people that are listening don't have a preferred insurance provider, we love working with Dowd Insurance. They're big enough where they've got access to a bunch of different carriers. But as you can see, we've got a relationship with them where we've got direct people that we can go to and not feel like you're calling a national firm that you're never going to talk to who you need to actually get to. So, and Jack's willing to set those kind of relationships up with whoever is utilizing their services. So we've been grateful. We've been working with Dowd, I think, since we opened the brokerage back in 2015. So.
Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate the tip there. Sounds good. Anyway, right now we're exiting what we call a hard market in the insurance industry. It looks like we're on the back end of it, thankfully. But what we've seen is that inflation in tandem with natural disasters have really risen the amount that people pay for insurance on both the commercial and the residential side. And you may be thinking to yourself, these wildfires are happening in California. These hurricanes are in the Southeast. What does that have to do with me in the Northeast? The answer is reinsurance. And every insurance company buys reinsurance. It's almost like an insurance company for an insurance company. And their treaties with these reinsurance companies, who are the ones who are paying for all these natural disasters, are doubling and tripling. So in order to make that up, they've had to go up considerably on their rates, which is why you may have seen your home insurance go up 15, 20% in the last few years. It's just the market right now. And we're exiting that phase of it, but it is still a reality to a degree. And that problem, due to just the state loss ratio on specifically auto, is even worse in Connecticut. So what we're seeing right now in Connecticut, and I know you guys are studying a lot over there, is we're seeing a lot of insurance companies who are not exactly trying to write a lot of business. And one of the unique differences between Connecticut and Massachusetts is that Connecticut bases their rating factor on credit. Massachusetts, you're not allowed to do that. So we have 5 markets in Connecticut. And if they don't have good credit, we truthfully have 0. So if you have somebody that you're sending over and they don't have good credit, might not be the best fit on our end.
Jack,
So just make sure.
can we just stop and pause on the credit thing? What is good credit, right? So when we're hearing that word in the real estate space, we really think mortgage. Can I get a mortgage? What products are they going to qualify for? So where's kind of that threshold on insurance? And these are maybe another reason why we should be talking to our buyers to say, hey, go talk to your lender. Let's figure out what your credit score is, and let's see if we can get it up 20, 40 points, because maybe it's going to save you some money on insurance. Or what I'm hearing here is maybe it's going to open a couple of carriers up for you. So let's talk about maybe what are those spreads on credit score?
It isn't entirely definitive, I'll say. I mean, I can speak anecdotally to this, and I'd say it's probably somewhere in the 675 range would be the bare minimum of acceptability, just based on the anecdotal cases of people I've known that have applied for insurance. But
And is it the
certainly
case
that's not
where,
a
okay,
question we ask.
675, the carrier is now willing to do business with you, but 750, are you getting a lower premium?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So if you have a good credit score in the state of Connecticut and an excellent credit score in the state of Connecticut, you're going to be in a different tier. So these companies will have different tiers. They'll have, just for simplicity's sake, preferred, standard, and non-standard. So non-standard, you're starting to see, given the fact that they're allowed to be more selective right now because they're not trying to take on risks, they're trying to protect their loss ratio. They're only taking preferred and standard clients. And what does this all have to do with how likely I am to get in accidents? Could be on the actuarial side. They're pulling that data from, and it also could just be as simple as we're looking for people to pay us for the insurance we provide. So just something to consider from that front.
John or Jack, I'm just seeing a question from somebody that's not actually on the Zoom call. They're following us on Instagram, asking, how do they obtain the credit? Is it a similar process to what the mortgage companies are doing? Is it a different process? Can you speak to that maybe a little bit?
Soft credit check. So it's not a hard pull. It's a soft credit check on the back end. We essentially run this through our carrier software. We have I don't know if you're familiar with a company called EasyLinks or Boston Software, but essentially you put all the basic information into the system. It populates rates for 10 different companies, more even in certain situations. And then they will run and give you a preliminary rate based on the information they pulled from the person that they got from their address, name, date of birth, saw a credit check.
And then,
Uh,
so the states obviously in New England that we are primarily focused on, you said Mass, they can't do this. Connecticut, they can do this. What about, do you know Rhode Island off the top of your head?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't off the top of my head.
And then Florida. I know we've got a big group down in Florida. Can they do it down there?
Couldn't speak to Florida.
Okay.
Not too sure. But
All right.
yeah, Florida's a different animal right now. Lot, especially on the home insurance front. Anything coastal is just really hard to place, and these carriers, they're trying to protect their loss ratios, so they're really just not trying to take on a lot of new business, because obviously we're in a weird weather pattern right now, and it's not necessarily a matter of if, it's a matter of when. From their standpoint, they're going to get hit with a large loss, so they're really trying to trim their book in those coastal areas in particular.
Yeah, I'm just seeing one of our Florida agents jumping in saying they do this in Florida as well. So, definitely something that we want to be, considering. And when we're talking to our clients, when you're trying to add value, here's another, we talk about getting our clients to these lenders as fast as possible. Here's another layer that I wasn't utilizing, when talking to these buyers about why they should get pre-approved earlier in the process, because this could come into play. And, not just maybe a little bit better premium, but maybe it can open you to more carriers, which I think is really critical.
Correct.
Cool. Well,
So
why don't we,
just
I know you had a couple of different topics. You had the credit. I'll maybe give you time for one more, and then we'll switch over to our home inspectors.
Sure. Yeah. The only other thing I was going to mention is that it kind of in the same breath of carriers getting more selective about who they're taking in from a risk standpoint. They're also being a little more picky and requiring a lot more upfront. So if you have a high value home, something $1 million or more in replacement cost, they're usually going to require you, and I say usually, it's really almost always at this point, they're going to be requiring a central station alarm system, and they're going to be requiring that you install a water leak detection system with an automatic shutoff. So if you have a high value customer, that's just something you may want to prepare them for ahead of time. And then they're also going to inspect every risk that comes across, whether it be with a drone over the top or an inspection internally, or if it's, some carriers actually have the option to have the person themselves take the video of the house and they can just submit that as the inspection. But everyone is requiring that these days. So just one more thing I wanted you guys to be aware of.
And that's not just for high value homes. That's every home now is going to get some sort of an inspection. One of those.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every home's going to have an inspection. The ones that are $1 million and above are going to have the central station and the water leak detection system.
Okay. And you're kind of seeing three different options. Maybe it's just going to be a flyover. Maybe the carrier is going to send out their own inspector, or maybe they're going to ask the homeowner to fill out a form or send some pictures or video in.
That's correct. Yeah, exactly. So, that'll vary based on carrier, and some carriers even pay for all of that to be done for you. But in those spaces, you're really talking about the really high net worth clients that are with a preferred insurance company like a Chubb or somebody of that size. So
And on the inspections, when are we typically seeing it? Are any of them doing it prior to actually issuing the insurance? Are they mostly, hey, within the first few months afterwards, and then they'll adjust your premium? Can you just maybe talk a little bit to the timelines?
well, they're usually not going to adjust your premium midterm. If anything, they'll wait to renewal, and then whatever changes that they saw that were different than the application that the insurance broker submitted, they will, one, advise the broker so the broker can let the client know, and then at renewal the price will go up based on whatever they found. Maybe there was a build out that they weren't considering on the original app because it wasn't shown on the assessor page. But anything to that nature, you'd be looking at. And in rare cases, they'll issue a non-renewal if you have like a bad roof or something like that, and the risk wasn't presented to the insurance company the same way that the inspector saw it.
And then what about the timelines, Jack? Are these typically happening within a month of you occupying the property? 6
I'd say
months,
1 to 3 months.
1 to 3. Okay. All right. What do we have for questions, guys? Let's just open the floor. Um, any kind of general insurance questions that you guys have? Maybe something weird that you saw in one of your deals. Adam.
Good morning. Hey, one of the things I always hear about is knob and tube. So I'm just curious, does knob and tube impact the policy premium?
It doesn't impact premium, but it does determine eligibility and therefore by proxy premium, I suppose. So it's going to essentially push you to the state pool in Massachusetts, which is more expensive than the standard market. So, by proxy, it doesn't, I guess, affect your price, but it really just affects your eligibility. No standard carrier is going to want to write knob and tube. Same thing goes for Federal Pacific breakers. And I actually have a guy that I'm quoting on his stuff now, and they wouldn't take it, but now they replace the Federal Pacific breakers. All the carriers want them. So it was very reasonably priced, he said, to do that. A lot easier than he thought.
Anybody else? We're letting you off easy, Jack. Well, stick with us, Jack. We got, we end the show typically around 9 o'clock. We'll see if anybody has any questions that come to mind. And with that, we'll turn it over to John and Todd on the home inspection front. What do you guys have for us today?
My name's John Sheen. I'm the GM at Sherwood Inspection Services. We also have Todd Diston. He's our inspector manager. And, now on to the fun stuff. We don't have to deal with that banking stuff. And so, we operate in Connecticut, Mass, New York, and Rhode Island. And, I wanted to talk about, selecting an inspector. And especially now, because a lot of inspectors, especially sole proprietors, are aging out. So some things you want to look at are, is that inspection company licensed? What are their reviews like? And stability, how long have they been in business? So, you want to look at that and the reporting to make sure that it's robust enough to give you a comfort level to buy that home. So, but I do have a question out there. Who gets anxious before inspections? Come on.
We're
Jack?
all anxious. We're all anxious. The
What's
buyer,
the most-
the buyer's dad, the buyer's agent. Is this deal going to stay together? That's what we're all thinking, John.
What's the
Please,
one?
we're thinking, please don't kill this deal, Mr. Home Inspector, please.
What's the one word that freaks people out the most in an inspection?
I'm going with,
Unexpected family.
what was that with Justin?
I said unexpected family.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's brutal.
Mold.
Mold. If we
Yes.
say mold, oh my God, freaks everybody out. So we typically say mold-like substance to keep the anxiety level down and, not blow the deal. So it's our job to make everyone not anxious in that whole transaction. So I'm going to turn it over to Todd real quick. He is going to talk about mold, and he's going to talk about some changes with the well flow testing. That's already taken place in the FHA arena. So Todd, take us away.
So good morning. I know that mold is very concerning to everybody. First of all, we don't use the word mold. We can't legally use that four-letter word. you have to say it's either a mold-like substance or it's an organic growth that we notice. Um, Personally, I'm not an alarmist. I never build up anything in front of the clients. Explain everything. This might be mold. The reasons are lack of airflow, water intrusions, something like that. The only way to prove it is to test it, and which Sherwood Inspections does. I'm mold certified. However, it's all the way you present it. And you can have mold in certain areas, like the attic. It's not overly concerning because you're not living there. Mold in the basement is because it rises up through the house. But most of the time, it's water intrusion. So the mold is more of a reaction to something else that's going on, not unto itself. So it requires a little bit more understanding and thorough research of why you're having an issue and then reacting to that. But again, you can have uh, mold in the house. It can be from a lot of different reasons. But again, I don't bring it up to a certain level unless the severity is up to a certain point. But it is an issue. People are very, very sensitive to it, and we react to that in kind. But I don't make an overly over the top explanation of it unless it's obvious and throughout the house, visibly.
Todd, let's just take a break there and just see, does anybody have any just general mold questions? Something you've seen on a deal recently or something that came up on one of your transactions that, even if it's not a question, it's just like, hey, this was interesting, I want to share. I think one of the things that typically for me, I always like to hear out of my home inspector was, hey, we see this on the majority of homes or X percentage of homes. We typically, what would you say that number is, Todd? Because I just think, I feel like mold's coming up on most inspections somewhere, somehow there is a little bit of mold in that property. Do you have any kind of numbers around that or?
If the house is vacant, we normally see more mold than normal because there hasn't been heat or air conditioning running, lack of airflow in the house. A lot of times I see it in the attic, and I explain it, but I downplay it because you're not living in the attic, and just increase the ventilation, and that usually takes care of it. So, but most
I,
of the
like
time,
I like those words, Todd. We got to get that. Hey, you're not living up here. Don't worry about the fact that it's covered in mold.
well,
You're
there
not
is a
living. You're not living
limitation
up here.
to if it's covered with mold, that's a
Yeah.
different thing. A little bit in this corner, yes,
Yeah.
increase the ventilation, that will take care of it.
So we're
Can we-
getting some patches that say everything is fixable. So we'll
Yeah.
have that on our jackets.
Those are keywords as well. I love it. And just let's go back to this. And Linda, I see your hand. We'll get to your question. The other thing is what's the particle that can be in the insulation and it's in the attic and everybody freaks out? I'm drawing a blank on that.
Asbestos.
Vermiculite.
Vermiculite. That's the one I'm looking for, right? I mean, can we go with the same thing on this? It's like, we don't need to be freaking out. You're not living up there as long as it's not disturbed. Do you guys take that same stance? Like, it's not the end of the world to have some vermiculite up in, if it potentially is mixed in, or what are your thoughts on that?
Correct. It's same thing with asbestos. Asbestos is fine in the house as long as it's not disturbed. You can encapsulate it. It won't be an issue. Asbestos will outlast all of us. But as long as it's contained, encapsulated, it's fine. If you have vermiculite in the attic, you can cover it. You can you don't have to remove it, scrub it, and do all that. That's the extreme. And personally, I don't see a reason for that. Just encapsulate it and make sure it doesn't get airborne.
All right, Linda, you got the floor. What do you got?
It actually is more of a comment than a question. I learned that it's really important if your clients are going to have a mold test to tell them in advance that their home is definitely going to test positive for mold. But similar to your gut bacteria, there's good gut bacteria and then there's the bad gut bacteria. So mold apparently is our friend, and there are dozens of strains that are going to be in a home, and but there's ones that we really, really want to be there, and then there's the ones that we don't want to be there. And so it's critical that they know in advance that when the test comes back, it's going to show that there's tons and tons of different mold. And it's just critical to understand what it is that we're looking for that we would prefer not to have in the home. It's just a heads up for them, because I had clients freak out when they got their mold test back and called me, oh my God, this house is riddled with mold. And then we had to talk about, yeah, there's some stuff that you really, really do want to have in the home, et cetera.
Well, like anything else, getting data without an explanation is worthless. And you have to understand what the data is saying and point out that this particular mode is an issue. All of these are not. And yes, it's you need an explanation to understand what you're testing and what the test shows. Absolutely.
And just for the newer agents on the call, when we talk about like how much your words matter, I think when you hear Linda speak to that and knows how to prepare her clients, that's the difference between keeping your deal together and getting to the closing table, right? That's a veteran agent preparing her buyer. We're going into home inspection. Like, these are the things that I hope you're keying in on, picking up on when you're listening to the more experienced agents talk, because that will set the stage, and she will close that deal that has mold. And if you haven't had that conversation, you will lose that deal that has mold just by a 30-second conversation prior to that home inspection. That's how much your words matter, and educating a buyer on what's really going on before we get into these different sections of the process. So very well said, Linda. All right, we are up against the 9 o'clock hour. Any other questions for John and Ton at Sherwood, or did something spark your mind for Jack at Dowd on the insurance front?
John and Todd, quick question. What's your process for testing for pyrite specifically? I know a lot of homes that were built in this area in the late 80s, early 90s, they had this crumbling foundation issue. So is there a process that you guys use to check for that, or how does that come about? Does it come about a normal inspection? Do you have to schedule it on the side?
Yes, so that's to see if SFC inspections, foundation inspections. We do a foundation inspection as normal part of the home inspection, of course. And if we see signs of the crumbling foundation, we will suggest they have a CFSSE inspection specifically for that. At Sherwood, we have a couple of people who are certified for that. And we go through that as if the foundation was poured after 1983, then yes, we do suggest that, because again, we discussed last week, if you want to get into the program, so if in case there's an issue, you can submit a claim. Just to get in the program is what you want to do initially.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I know you guys are busy, and I appreciate Jack, you jumping on today, and John and Todd from Sherwood, and we'll make sure that we're going to bring you guys on as regular guests. It's great to have you on, even if you're not adding value, just to be there to answer the questions. So having you guys join this call as often as possible, I really appreciate it. I know how busy you guys are. Jack, if you want to maybe just throw your contact information in the chat, and John and Todd, if you guys want to do the same thing. And then I will wrap it up here with a share, like we always do, of the additional training that is available. So what do we have today? We've got 5 different trainings: the Investor Agent Playbook, Close More Transactions and Build Wealth; Video Lab. I think this is for people that are looking to up their video game, real conversions. I'm not sure what that one is all about. Master the art of conversion and handoff between the ISA and agent roles with industry experts. Invest like a Titan, so more on the investor side of things, and then niche domination. So reduce your competition and increase your value by targeting a specific market. You can position yourself as an expert in your field, build your reputation, and ultimately close more transactions. So that one looks pretty interesting. Take a training, come back, teach us what you learned. We appreciate you guys, and I hope you have an awesome Wednesday, and I hope you come back. Share the show. The more people that we can get to join, I think the better off we are. And if you have a question, I don't say this enough, if you have a question that you don't feel comfortable sharing and you want to just get it in anonymously, please just DM me, shoot me an email, send me a text message, and I'll make sure that I bring it up on the show. Same thing goes for the guests. If you want me to get somebody, I'm happy to do the research and bring on an expert. So appreciate you all, and have a great Wednesday. We will talk to you again tomorrow morning. Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.
Well, have a good one.